A single painting changed art forever, a figure screaming on a bridge, its face twisted in silent agony. But this wasn't just art. It was a scream from Edvard Munch's soul. A man haunted by death, madness, and his own mind, Munch turned his panic into a masterpiece that still haunts us today. What drove this tortured genius to paint humanity's deepest fears? And how did his mental battles redefine art itself? This is the story of Edvard Munch, the man who gave the world the scream and lived it. Welcome to Mental Histories, where we unravel the minds behind the legends. Today, we step into Munch's world, a place of loss, fear, and a scream that never stopped echoing. Munch's life was shaped by tragedy. His mother and sister both died of tuberculosis when he was young, and his father was an anxious, deeply religious man who filled the house with fear. This childhood trauma haunted him for life. Edvard Munch was born in 1863 in Norway, into a home shadowed by death. His mother died of tuberculosis when he was 5. His father, a strict, anxious man, followed when Edvard was 14. Then his sister Sophie, his closest companion, succumbed to the same disease. Another sister was locked away in an asylum. His father, a religious fanatic, filled young Edvard's mind with visions of hellfire. "I inherited two of mankind's greatest enemies," Munch later wrote, consumption and insanity. These horrors became the ink in his pen, the paint on his brush. Picture it, a boy surrounded by coffins, raised on tales of sin and suffering. His early drawings were dark, fragile, already hinting at a mind marked by grief. By his 20s, he was in Oslo, training as an artist, but the ghosts of his past weren't done with him. Munch didn't just paint, he bled onto the canvas. His early work shocked critics. The Sick Child, a ghostly portrait of his dying sister, was called a miscarriage in linseed oil. But Munch didn't care. "These paintings are my children," he said. "They are my soul." His art became a diary of despair, love, death, jealousy, all swirling in violent colors. But behind the brushstrokes, Munch was crumbling. Panic attacks stalked him. He drank to numb the pain. "I felt a vacuum under my diaphragm," he wrote, a sense of impending doom. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1892, at 28, Munch wrote in his diary, "I was walking along the road with 2 friends, then the sun set. The sky turned blood red. I felt a great, infinite scream pass through nature." That moment became the scream, a figure clutching its face, mouth agape, against a swirling, apocalyptic sky. It wasn't just art, it was his mind laid bare. Munch called it his soul's diary. He was battling anxiety, crippling, suffocating waves of it. He later said, "Sickness, insanity, and death were the angels that hovered over my cradle." That sunset didn't just inspire him, it broke him open. Munch's 30s and 40s were a storm. Alcohol became his escape, wine, absinthe, anything to quiet the noise. Love didn't help either. His affair with Tula Larsen was obsessive, volatile, ending with a gunshot that mangled his hand. By 1908, Munch was broken. Paranoia, hallucinations, and alcoholism landed him in a psychiatric clinic. Yet, there, he found a strange peace. He painted his doctors, his room, even the clinic's garden. Slowly, he clawed back control. His later works softened, sunlit landscapes, workers in fields. But the darkness never left. In 1919, surviving the Spanish flu, he painted himself gaunt and defiant. "Without anxiety and illness," he said, "I would have been a ship without a rudder." After the clinic, Munch sobered up, mostly. He retreated to Norway's countryside, painting until his hands shook. His later work softened, landscapes, light, but the anguish never fully left. He stayed a recluse, haunted by his life freeze, a series he said captured the modern soul's anxiety. Munch died in 1944 at 80, leaving over 28,000 works. Today, he's hailed as the father of Expressionism, a movement built on raw emotion. But his true legacy is darker, deeper. In a world obsessed with wellness, Munch reminds us that pain can be a catalyst. His scream still echoes, in memes, movies, and the quiet moments when we all feel the weight of existing. As he once said, "I do not paint what I see, but what I saw." And what he saw was the terror and beauty of being human. Would Munch's art have existed without his pain? Some believe suffering fueled his creativity. Others believe he was simply resilient, turning agony into beauty. But did he ever truly escape it? Munch once said, "Without anxiety and illness, my art would have been different. But I will never throw away my sufferings." So we ask, was his pain necessary for his genius? Edvard Munch taught us that art isn't about pretty pictures, it's about truth, even when it hurts. He didn't just paint fear, he lived it, breathed it, and turned it into something eternal. His mental struggles weren't a curse, they were his voice. If his story moved you, share this video with someone who understands the weight of anxiety. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more journeys into the minds of history's most fascinating figures. And tell us in the comments, what's your scream? Until next time, keep confronting the chaos, and creating anyway.